there and having all of your environmental teams on standby is really the best we can do right now, because the Navy investigation is primary as they kind of get their perimeter set up and on lockdown.
Is the Navy in charge of removing the fighter jet from the water?
Yes, I believe that's going to be their responsibility.
How would they do so when that happens? Do you know?
I don't know their process.
Has this ever happened before?
I believe there was a helicopter crash in the bay years ago. I don't remember the exact date of that, though.
What's the intention of the maritime patrol here, and how long is that expected to last?
We'll lift it as soon as we can. We don't want to extend that any longer. We have left an ingress and egress route, like I said, for essential emergency traffic. So if you were, your dock home port is the Kona Kai and you've been out all day, if you're coming back tonight, we're going to let you get back to your dock. But if you're just going out for a pleasure cruise for the day, please avoid the area, because it's just for emergency traffic only.
Is it just for the rest of the day that it's going to be?
I can't give an exact timeline because I don't know how long the recovery efforts will take.
So the Good Samaritans, there's a fishing boat, what sort of boat?
I heard fishing boat, but I couldn't even verify if it was a large fishing boat, a small fishing boat. I'm not sure.
Did they physically bring them out of the water?
I was not there for that part, yeah, so I don't know, sir. Sorry.
What hospital?
I can't say the hospital. We'll have to defer to the Navy on that one.
Okay, I think that's it, folks. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
San Diego Bay. Now let me ask you something, ladies and gentlemen. What is up with all these plane crashes around the country since Trump has taken office? There's more plane crashes than I've ever seen in my life in such a short period of time. We're talking about Washington, D.C. We're talking about Nome, Alaska. We're talking about Philadelphia. We're talking about other smaller aircraft that crash into the ground, into the trees. And now we have a incident where it's military crashing into the bay, San Diego. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just bad timing, bad luck, or just coincidence. But something seems fishy and funny to me about all of this. Let me know what you think. We'll cover any other plane crash that happens on JLR Investigates. Thank God the two people on board are safe. We salute all the military out there. Be safe out there. Your sacrifices gives us the freedoms that we have today to discuss these type of things. We'll talk soon. JLR Investigates. Stay safe.
My source tonight is one of the few people to see how President Trump and President Putin interact when the cameras aren't necessarily around. Ambassador John Bolton was Trump's national security advisor in his first term, and it's great to have you here, Ambassador, because you've previously said that you believe Putin sees Trump as what you described as an easy mark. You were there for their first meeting in Helsinki. What are your expectations for this one?
Well, I don't have any expectations anymore. I think we know exactly what's going to happen. President Trump has effectively surrendered to Putin before the negotiations have even begun. The positions that Defense Secretary Hegseth announced in Brussels, which I'm sure I'd be stunned if Trump didn't convey them directly to Putin in their phone call, constitute terms of a settlement that could have been written in the Kremlin. Maybe they were written in the Kremlin and got out in propaganda channels. But it's a complete reversal of the U.S. and NATO position on a number of issues. For example, up until today, the official American position was that Ukraine should be returned to full sovereignty and territorial integrity. That's gone. The question of NATO membership as far back as 2008 had been that ultimately Ukraine would become a NATO member. That doesn't look like that's around anymore either. Putin has scored a whole series of victories today. It's hard to encompass them all, but I think one, in addition to these substantive concessions, is that he has now, it seems, exactly what he wants. Putin doesn't want to negotiate with Zelensky. He wants to negotiate with Trump because he thinks he'll get more out of him, and he's absolutely right.
On your point that you just made about not having Ukraine be in NATO, borders returning to what they were pre-2014, which Hegseth said was off the table, if a Trump official was here tonight and they argued, well, that's just being realistic, what would you say to that?
I'd say that if you're going into a negotiation, you don't announce what's acceptable to you before it begins and give away positions. I tell you, I've done a lot of negotiation with the Russians, and there's no country out there that's better at pocketing concessions that you make and then wanting more. We used to joke in Soviet arms control days about a famous Russian negotiator who used to greet the Americans every morning with a jovial, "Well, what have you got for me today?" And that's what we're hearing from Russia. This is something Putin prepared the ground for. You know, last week he said he agreed with Trump that in the comments Trump had made in the election that the war never would have taken place had Trump been president. So he began the flattery campaign, the release of Mark Fogel, the American hostage, part of the flattery warm-up campaign, make Trump look like the center of attention. Belarus's decision to release an American and a couple others, part of the flattery campaign. It's obviously working.
Trump said today also in his own readout of the call that he put out that Putin repeated back to him about using common sense to end the war. Do you think that that's part of that flattery campaign?
Right. Well, there was a tweet or whatever you call those things on Truth Social that said, Putin used my very effective campaign slogan, common sense. I think we all believe in common sense, but he